So you're visiting Costa Rica and you want to check out Panama too, but you're not sure how to get across the border. I'm here to tell you that I've done it recently and I made it through to the other side and back with minimal hassle, and you can too with just a little bit of preparation. Find out how coming up next. Hi, I'm Steph Taylor, and I've been traveling for over a decade now, both military and civilian travel, and I have my fair share of customs and immigration experience. So I'll cut straight to the chase and tell you that crossing the Costa Rica and Panama border is not a walk in the park. But if you're prepared and have all the right documents, some items to ease the discomfort, managed expectations, and a great sense of pura vida, you should be able to make it across to the other side and keep your sanity. Hopefully. Now, there used to be direct domestic flights from San Jose to Bocas del Toro, which is where I was staying in Panama, by a small airline called Nature Air. Now, if that would have been an option for me at the time, I definitely would have opted to take the 1-hour flight versus a 10-hour trip. Now, according to CostaRicaGuide.com, the airline was grounded indefinitely after a fatal crash that happened over a year ago. So now the only way to fly into Panama from Costa Rica is if you want to fly into Panama City, which was 10 hours away from where I wanted to stay in Panama. That's certainly okay if that's the area you're looking to explore. You can definitely see the canal. There's lots of things to do in that area, but for this particular situation, I wanted to see Bocas del Toro, which is closer to the border. That would have taken me an additional day's drive from Panama City up to Bocas.
No.
But before we even talk about how we get there are a few things we need to consider that we'll need to bring before our departure. Now, this one's obvious, but your passport. Just make sure that it's going to be valid for the next 6 months from the time that you arrive in Panama. You'll also need 2 scanned copies of your passport. This is just something that you should be carrying with you anyway, just in case something does happen to your passport, and at least you have a backup. They may or may not want to keep a copy, but it's just good to have on you in case they want to. Now, to prove financial stability, you have to have at least $500 cash. They're not going to take that from you, but you have to at least show it. Or you have to have a recent bank statement with your name on it that shows your bank information. You can also use a valid credit card that has $500 or more available credit, and it would be really helpful to have a statement. Proof of onward travel. This one's a little bit tricky because you would think that showing them that you have a bus ticket that sends you back to Costa Rica, that would suffice, but it actually doesn't. They want to know that you have a ticket purchased that returns you to your home of record or to the country from which your passport was issued. Now, this is regardless of whether you're continuing on to another country after you visit Panama, so just make sure you can provide that. Now, if you're using a flight itinerary to show proof of onward travel, just make sure that your name is on it. Sometimes itineraries that can be accessed through airline apps don't always have the passenger's name right on the itinerary. You'll need to pay an exit tax, which is the equivalent of $7 US or 4,244 colones. When you leave Costa Rica via ground, the tax is $7 US, but when you leave the country via air, it's actually $29 US, and that is included usually in your airline ticket. Side note, although the official currency in Panama is the Balboa, the currency that's commonly accepted is the US dollar, so just be prepared with that. Don't try to pay in colones. And don't say pura vida. You're not in Costa Rica anymore. Sunblock. You will most likely find yourself standing in a line for a long time in the blistering Central America sun. So just be prepared. There really isn't that much shade until you get to the front of the line, and who knows when that will be. So to avoid turning into a lobster, just make sure you bring with you a high SPF or an umbrella or both, because the sun will bite you. Water. Definitely want to bring with you lots of water because temperatures in this region can reach triple digits and it tends to get pretty humid. And if you're not used to that, you will pass out. I saw it almost happen. I was actually standing next to a guy in line who wasn't used to the heat. He didn't have enough water with him. He was not prepared. He actually had to sit down because he almost blacked out. don't be that guy. It's really, really easy to get dehydrated in this region, so just make sure that you bring lots of water so you can stay hydrated and not get heat stroke or heat exhaustion. Transportation arrangements. Car rental companies will not let you drive a rental car across the border, so you can't drive across the border. I have heard that there are some rental companies that if you make arrangements and are willing to pay an additional fee, they will actually let you take it to the border, have somebody pick it up, and then you can make arrangements to have another car delivered on the other side. There are a couple of other ways to get there. You can take public transportation. Out of San Jose, it's the Mepe bus. You'll want to make sure to take the 6 a.m. route if you do plan on going to Bocas, because you want to get there in time before the last ferry leaves from, what is it, Almirante. You can take a taxi all the way down to the border. I wouldn't advise it because that might be kind of pricey, but it is an option, and then you would just link up with another taxi on the other side. Or you can hire a shuttle service. I used Caribe shuttle. It seemed to be the least stressful. They also took me all the way to my final destination in Panama, so I didn't have to worry about transfers until I got to the ferry. Now, a one-way ticket costs around $76. It was totally worth it because I didn't have to stress out about booking another transfer. They handled all of that for me. They picked me up from my hotel and took me straight to Bocas. Now, that price also included a stop in Puerto Viejo where we got to stop for an hour, relax by the pool or by the beach, and have lunch. Lunch was included and it was quite delicious. This was also a really great way to break up a 10-hour trip. Now, the trip was not perfect. We did end up getting stuck in traffic for about an hour. So we're on our way to Panama and we're stuck because of road construction. And we've been waiting, what, an hour? Hour and a half. Good times. So just mentally try to prepare yourself that delays might happen, and this is why it's so important to try and leave as early in the day as possible. I left San Jose at 6 a.m. and didn't get to Bocas until around dinner time. Also keep in mind that you're going to want to leave yourself enough time to get to the border before it closes, because on weekdays it closes at 10 p.m. and on weekends it closes at 8 p.m. So just make sure you have enough time to get there. Also, on my return trip from Panama to Costa Rica, our radiator overheated, so we got stuck on the side of the road for about 45 minutes, an hour or so, but we were stuck in the middle of the rainforest and getting broken down in the rainforest can get pretty interesting. It's okay, it was dead, but still. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you do arrive at the border, you still have to get out of the vehicle and go through customs and immigration, and then your driver will meet you on the other side if it's the shuttle. So now that you know what you need, let's talk about the process. Don't worry, we'll get through this. I got you. So this information is for the Sijeola border. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sijeola. If you plan on crossing at a different border, it's probably a similar process, but just double check to make sure. If you've booked with a shuttle, they'll keep your heavier bags and they'll use a luggage carrier and push it across the bridge. Usually they expect a tip once you get to the other side, and they are not shy about asking for it. So make sure you have some change. You'll start by walking on an unpaved, uneven road to the passport office to pay the exit tax. This part of the process went by pretty quickly. There was no line when I was there. The area is not glamorous at all. Keep in mind that during this whole process, the entire thing just feels kind of sketchy. Just paid the taxes, getting ready to head over to immigration and see if we can get into Panama. There was actually a ton of construction going on when I was at the passport office, and just as I was handing my passport over, I hear this huge thud behind me, and I turned around and it was this huge boulder that was dropped by a construction worker, and the thing must have weighed several hundred pounds. If it would have landed on somebody, they would have definitely been injured. And that happened just a few feet away from me. Just something to keep in mind. It was funny, the guy came over and looked around and picked the boulder up and then took it away like nothing happened. You didn't see anything. So at the immigration office, you'll get your passport stamped and you'll present all of your documents. You will likely wait in line for a long while. Wait times in this line depend on if it's peak season. There might be lots of tourists in the area trying to get in and out of Panama. But just be ready to stand in hot sun for a long time. When I went in February, I waited 45 minutes in line on the way in and then an hour on the way out. Make sure your passport gets stamped. Sometimes it won't get stamped or it'll have the wrong date, so just make sure you look at your passport before you walk away and make sure everything looks good. That way you can avoid any problems on the way back in. Across the bridge. Oh, the bridge. So pedestrians share a single lane bridge with trucks, semis, other vehicles, and it doesn't really leave much room, and cars will just come straight up to pedestrians. It's a really tight squeeze, but the vehicles will pass right by you, right next to you. It actually used to be a lot worse, I heard, when it was made of just wood slats. It's since been updated. Anyway, cautiously make your way across the bridge. If you hired a shuttle, sometimes they will walk with you while they're pushing your luggage so that you don't have to look for them on the other side. If you opted for a bus or a taxi, there are plenty of taxis waiting on the other side to take you wherever you need to go in Panama. Now there is a $3 voluntary fee. It's set up to help support the community. It's voluntary. I've heard that people have been told that it's mandatory. So if someone approaches you and tells you that you have to go, there's an office on the other side of the bridge. It's a government office. That is where you pay the $3 fee. Now you might be asked to present your passport again when you get to the end of the bridge where the guards are. So don't put your passport away just yet. Once they clear you, you can meet up with your transportation on the other side. There's a few little shops and restaurants around the area if you want to grab a quick bite to eat. I ended up buying another bottle of water because I was all out. There's a duty-free shop there as well. Now, overall, I think the hassle was ultimately worth it. If you can keep a sense of humor, know what to bring, know what to expect, then I think the process is very doable. I had an amazing time in Panama. I can't wait to go back and spend more time there. If you want to see what my stay in Panama was like, click this link. If you are planning on crossing the Panama-Costa Rica border, I hope this video leaves you feeling prepared. And if you're not planning to cross this border, I hope that you were able to gain something from this video, if anything, to learn from my experience, because it might be something you want to do in the future. Thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, I would appreciate a like. And if you would like to see more travel tips or travel destinations, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel and make sure that you click that bell so that you know when new videos are uploaded. And good luck crossing that border if that's what you're doing. And if not, I will see you in the next video. Happy travels. So to avoid turning into a lobster, whoa. If you've booked with a shovel, they'll keep your heavier bags and they will use a, and I made it through the other, did you hear that? Stomach growl? Oh my goodness, it is lunchtime.